Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar being hosted by INCOP India. First and foremost, I hope that all of you and your families are safe. As the lockdown continues to ease, we will be exposed to increased levels of risk and uncertainties. This goes for our personal environment as well as for businesses. Everyone is taking a measured call on what are the next steps ahead. This phase of uncertainty brings us to the topic for the event, MSME Redefined. Through a series of announcements over the past couple of months, the government has been extending its support towards the MSME sector, which is the most vulnerable to shocks due to downturns in economic activity. However, the measures announced are diverse, complex, and have a far-ranging series of implications. The guidelines are released or updated every few days, and it is difficult for one to keep track of the latest developments. Bearing this in mind, we are going to try to simplify and summarize the scope and impact of these reliefs on businesses and provide practical advice for you to capitalize on them. We hope that it will help you to take the next step in shaping your business through and post this pandemic. Introducing myself, my name is Yash Gandhi and I'm the moderator for this event. I'm the team lead of the Debt Advisory Division of INCOP India. I have over 7 years of experience in syndicating loans across sectors such as pharmaceutical, real estate, hospitality, textile, infrastructure, etc. A brief introduction of our panelists. Mr. Jayesh Sangrajka has more than 35 years of experience and brings hands-on professional involvement with listed and unlisted businesses spanning across industries. He has been providing consultancy on tax, corporate finance, and legal and secretarial matters. He is also an insolvency professional with the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. He often appears as a speaker at several seminars and training programs organized by the ICAI. He heads the Insolvency and Corporate Restructuring Division at INCOP India. Our next panelist is Mr. Samir Sanghvi. He has more than 20 years of experience in business advisory services and specializes in domestic as well as international tax structuring and compliance, regulatory due diligence, and assurance services. He frequently writes on regulatory matters and is a seasoned speaker at various forums, including government bodies. He heads the Direct Tax Advisory Division at INCOP India. Our third panelist, Mr. Inderpreet Chadda. He has over 15 years of experience in corporate finance, transaction advisory, due diligence, and valuations. He has served clients across sectors like manufacturing, healthcare, real estate, logistics, technology, etc. He heads the Investment Banking Division at INCOP India. Please note that you can ask questions throughout the webinar through the questions tab on your dashboard. We will be addressing them in the Q&A session at the end of the event. Now, we move to our first panelist, Mr. Jayesh Sangrajka.
I have 35 years of experience as a business advisor. We have seen many financial difficulties from Mahabharata and Ramayana times. However, we have seen nothing like COVID-19 pandemic. No experts, including WHO, could predict it. All human beings in every part of the world, rich or poor, developed or undeveloped countries, are impacted. It's a huge human tragedy. All economic activities are impacted in all the countries in the world. No country is left out. Travel stopped, airlines stopped, transportation stopped. It is all unimaginable. In all countries, hospital infra were affected and nobody could give enough care to the patients. Even developed world countries like US, Spain, Germany, Italy, and many other countries could not cope up with the pandemic. However, India took very early steps. 130 crore people obeyed lockdown call by our beloved Prime Minister. There were no testing labs and equipments, no PPE, no medical protocols for COVID-19. immediate lockdown had huge impact on migrant workers in particular. We have seen various scenes, conditions of migrant workers on various channels and newspapers. All businesses, small and mediums, are impacted in India. Most impacted were unorganized sector. India is a very large unorganized sector. That was the most impacted. The saving grace in this situation was our information technology companies and work from home because of the connectivity what our internet companies could give us. Tata and Infosys and all other companies shifted their staff for work from home, and this enabled them to provide services all over the world. During lockdown period, healthcare system, PPE production, beds and testing was strengthened in India. MSME sector in particular had a huge impact. There was no cash flow, no workers, no logistics, no transportation, huge inventory built up, fixed cost, interest and other cost. So costs were fixed. Interest cost was also there wherever loans were taken. And most of the MSMEs have taken loans. There was non-payment from debtors. All above factors created huge uncertainties and losses for businesses. Hence, government intervention and fiscal relief was required. Government came out with various measures in interest of MSME, which we will discuss in detail in today's session. We at INCOP have proactively given solution to many MSME in such a situation. We feel that right advice and restructuring solution in this unprecedented times can revive businesses. We can help businesses with proper advice. However, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. RBI decreased repo rate and reverse repo rate. This has lowered the interest rate. Now, interest rate for housing, for example, we can get housing loan at 6.5%, which is lowest in last 25-30 years. There is ample liquidity in banking system. The monsoon is predicted as very good this year. The reforms by government are moving at a quicker pace. Labor law and land reforms have been initiated. International oil prices have decreased a lot, so our import bill has decreased a lot. This has created a huge foreign exchange reserve of more than $500 billion, which is highest in the history of India. There has been decrease in trade deficit, and there has been bond market creation. Now, coming to various, move to first slide, Samir. Yeah, coming to economic overview. If you, there was a supply shock, there was a demand shock. What was the supply impact? The factories all of a sudden had to shut down. There was labor shortage. There was disruption in raw material supply. And there was a cash flow issues, drying of cash flows. All businesses had this impact on supply side. On demand side, there was a lower spending because there was no money in the hands of the consumers. There was weaker global demand because of no export, logistic issues, then loss in income and employment for majority of the people. Weaker consumer sentiments. This all resulted into a very huge impact on every businesses. What are the key economic indicators during this period? The growth rate went down to 0.2%, lower than 2.5% projected in March. Unemployment rate was 26%. Today, the unemployment rate has come down to 11% according to the latest news. But we had reached in the month of March and April unemployment rate of 26%. Then gross borrowing of government increased to 12 trillion. 54% higher than budgeted. Fiscal deficit of 5.5%, higher than 3.5% targeted. And gross NPAs were 11 to 11.5%, which was which was 5% pre-COVID times. So these are the various economic uh, overview. Next, Samir. What is a sectorial overview? Previous one, Samir. Yeah. So around 41.50 crores, 50 lakh of the working population works in informal economy in India. MSME accounts for 40% of the workforce. Agricultural sector will be less impacted as it is an essential activity and due to support from PM Kisan scheme. So how vulnerable is India's workforce? Agricultural sector, we are employing 20.53 crore. There is a low impact on them. Industry is employing 11.53 crores. There is a high impact on that industry. Then coming to services, it has a high impact. The employment is for 5.43 crores. Services, there is employment of 14.44 crores. So this all has a huge impact. So if we see every worker or every employee, whether in organized, self-employed, has been impacted. Next slide. The government, in view of this, announced various relief measures for MSME businesses. There was easing of compliance, sectoral relief and reforms, and other reforms. What is the objective of all these measures? These measures are going on continuing, more and more announcements are coming up based on the economic situation. So objective of these measures are survival and growth of MSME. The basic question is survival of the MSME. Restoring production and gainful employment. Somehow start the economic activity and restore production and employment. Strengthening the capacity of financial institutions. All financial institutions, there were a lot of defaults in the market, which needs to be strengthened by fiscal measures. Providing sectorial reliefs and reforms. Various sectors reliefs have been announced. Reducing the burden of compliances. Under income tax, company law, labor laws, all there has been reduction of the reducing the burden of compliances because of the COVID situation. Providing tax relief to businesses. Increasing public expenditure in healthcare and education. Supporting farmers and low income group. Privatization of public sector for capacity building. In view of this, government announced a 20 trillion special economic package. The purpose of this economic package is building a vibrant and self-reliant Indian economy, building of a modern and digital infrastructure, enhancing demographic skills and capacity, strengthening the supply chain. So all these relief measures we'll discuss in detail. Now Samir will take over. Samir, please.
Thank you, Jayesh Bhai, for giving an overview in a very lucid manner. Now, going to the relief and reform measures for MSME businesses, we first need to acknowledge that MSME's role in the Indian economy in last years. As per annual report of 2018-19, currently 64 million MSMEs are contributing 29% of the GDP, out of which 6% is coming from manufacturing GDP, 49% is the total exports. Approximately 6,000 products are dealt with by MSME and creating 111 million jobs. And mainly, they play a significant role in the industrialization of the rural and backward areas. Overall growth of the MSME industrial sector is 7.62% versus 6.6% of the overall industrial growth. These are the proposals which are announced by government owing to the COVID lockdown. And looking at this, one thing is common, that government is aiming at the long-term vision for making a self-reliant India. The steps are aggressive in the history of India for the MSME development, may have some short-term glitches due to the challenges in implementation, eligibility due to the unrecognized sectors operating in this field, poor documentation, but definitely it will create a discipline in the long run in MSME circle by changing their habits and tightening focus on the business ethics, transparency, and adequate documentation. First of the relief measure which government proposed is the revision in definition of MSME. On the right hand side, you can see the revised definition. Earlier, the focus was on the plant and machinery and equipment. For manufacturing and service segment, there were different criteria, and those criteria were so redundant to follow in the practical life because of the smaller thresholds. Now there is a sea change. For the first time, government came up with the investment and turnover dual criteria. So for a micro enterprise, investment in plant and machinery has to be up to 1 crore and turnover up to 5 crore. For small enterprise, investment between 1 crore to 10 crore and turnover between 5 crore to 50 crore. And for medium enterprise, investment between 10 crore to 50 crore and turnover between 50 crore to 250 crore. By this change, lots of entities may fall under the MSME criteria for which government has given cost of incentives. Now the question comes, how to define turnover and how to define plant and machinery? It's a common question most of you might be having. Turnover as per GST data has to be taken for GST registered entity, but for non-GST assessee, data has to be derived from the VAT returns of the 1920. One important announcement government made that export turnover should be excluded from counting the turnover threshold. So the question comes whether deemed export turnover should be excluded. The answer is no. It will be forming part of the turnover, local turnover, and it cannot be excluded. Whether turnover will be inclusive of tax or exclusive of tax. To my knowledge, the turnover will be exclusive of tax, as appearing in the books of accounts and GST data or VAT data. Now, if we go through the definition of plant and machinery, in the old criteria under of the MSME Act, it was defined as only original cost of investment, excluding the cost of pollution control, research and development, industrial safety devices. But for service industry, no such criteria was defined. Now, how to calculate this? If an entity purchased plant and machinery worth 10 lakh rupees in 2010 and subsequently purchased worth 200 lakhs in 2019, then the total investment in the plant and machinery will be considered as 210 lakhs without considering depreciation impact. So this is a very important criteria one has to look into, and it has lots of importance on the balance sheet side. From the balance sheet, it has to be derived. Now, question comes, will tax be considered as a part of cost? Generally, for all the plant and machinery, we used to take input tax credit, whether under VAT law, excise law, or under the GST law. Those taxes should be excluded in the calculation of this limit. Lending cost, including logistics, CNF charges, installation cost, custom duty, all should be considered as a part of the plant and machinery cost. as per books of accounts, as per the accounting norms followed by the entity. And any duty concession should be reduced from the cost of the assets as per the accounting norms. That means, in short, we need to take the plant and machinery as per the gross block value of the books of accounts as appearing on 2020 March 31st. How to register for MSME? You can register in a single page registration form, which is free of registration cost on udyogaadhar.gov.in. No need to upload any documentation. Self-certification is enough. A self-declaration is also enough. Udyog Aadhar is for to be taken per entity wise, irrespective of multiple branch or plants, because only care has to be taken is the Aadhar certificate should include all those addresses. This is not for traders and wholesalers, specifically excluded, quite some notification. Aadhar card is mandatory. Without Aadhar, this application cannot be made. And in case of the non-individual entity, Aadhar card of the partner or director will be required. There is no expiry of the Udyog Aadhar card or Udyog Aadhar certificate. If entity is operating ethically and financially healthy, there will be no expiry. And there is a specific provision to verify credential in the portal of the procurement agency and government departments. Now, quickly running through the benefits of MSME registration. There are 8 categories we have divided. First is ease of finance. There is a ease of access to the credit because the loan to MSME falls under priority sector lending. Second, there is a financial coverage security by the CGT MSE, the Credit Guarantee Trust for MSE. This helps the banks and financial institutions get protection from the government for the loans lended to the micro and small enterprise. In the relief package, government has announced various financial measures which we will be covering in short time. Interest subvention and interest capping is also applicable to the MSE. And second pillar is the strengthened recovery. Government has introduced trades last year, and there are certain interactions already happening on this, and they want to enhance this further. We will discuss that also shortly. Second important point is the legal protection of 45 days recovery is extended to the micro and small enterprise from any entity. But with this relief package, government has extended this benefit even to the medium enterprise for recovery from government agencies. MSME Samadhan is also gaining momentum in the last 2-3 years, and it has its own advantage. Even it is stronghold against the IBC proceedings, which we will be covering in this presentation. Government initiatives for MSME. Global tenders up to 200 crores are prohibited. We will see the benefits of this in the coming slides. Higher preference for government license and certification. And government has also given one-time restructuring window till 31st March 2021 without degrading the asset classification. On the technology support and IP support, government has taken lots of initiatives and framed lots of schemes. Technology upgradation support, patent registration, reimbursement of cost for the international registration, and support to set up the IP facilitation center. Government also wants to encourage the ideas and innovation by helping the incubators and incubatees. There are a host of financial assistance measures taken for the infrastructure in terms of nurturing the idea to R&D activities and then to convert it into the viable startup. And there are subsidies given at various levels. For startup, government has given the IT tax holidays in terms of the 3 out of 10 years tax holiday, 100% tax holiday, no angel tax on the investment taken by startup, tax deferral for ESOPs, and creating an ecosystem, startup hub for sharing ideas, interacting, exchange of ideas, and then after going for the strong partnership in dynamic world. And recently, DSC has come up with the concept of startup listing pre-COVID, which many of the startup entities can take advantage of. Manufacturing competitiveness is the key which government has designed to make in India viable. And there are host of measures taken in this lean manufacturing competitiveness by creating the cluster, zero defect, zero effect for enhancing the export quality, power subsidy, subsidy for design intervention, and training development program for the entrepreneurial skills development. And there are tax incentives offered in last couple of years, especially the concessional income tax rate for the of the 15% for the corporates, exclusion of the dividend distribution tax, and incentives for the employment generation and capital expenditure claim, and relaxation of audit from 1 crore to 5 crore for the small enterprises. Now, moving to the immediate financial support. On the left-hand side, you can see Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme, which is applicable as a working capital to meet the COVID type of contingencies. The criteria is the outstanding limit on the 29 February 2020, 20% will be granted, up to 20% will be granted with the list documentation by the banks and financial institutions or NBFCs. One important point, this scheme is not only restricted to MSMEs, it can be used by any entity having less than 25 crore exposure on 29 February and having turnover of less than 100 crore in financial year 1920. The condition, important condition is that account should be standard account or it should fall under SMA 0 or SMA 1 category. This limit can be availed by 31st of October 2020. No guarantee fee, no fresh collateral is required. 100% guarantee is given by the Government of India through the credit trust. And interest rate is kept at 9.25% or lower than that, but maximum 9.25% for the banks and the financial institutions. Another important point, to meet this requirement and to sail through the tough times, government has given 1 year moratorium with 4-year tenure repayment schedule. 3 lakh crore is the package and expected to benefit 45 lakhs business units, primarily MSME. On the right hand side, you can see the subordinate debt for the stressed MSME, which applies to the SMA2 or NPA type of accounts. Here, government extends 4,000 crore to the CGT MSE, which will be providing partial guarantee for to the support to the lenders for promoting or for lending to the MSME promoters. In this scenario, the lenders will lend to the promoters in individual capacity, who in turn will introduce this money in the business as a promoter contribution, as a quasi-equity. Maximum 15% of the existing stake of the promoters can be funded here, subject to maximum cap of 75 lakhs. Expected to benefit 2 lakh stressed MSME by this package of 20,000 crore. Now, few question comes on the application of this. Who will be eligible to avail this debt finance under ECLGS of 3 lakh crore? All businesses, as I earlier said, not only confined to MSME. Will there be an additional facility available in terms of term loan? Yes, possible. Working capital loan can be taken up as or even on the term loan facility existing on 29th Feb. Will the loan be extended as a separate loan account or as a part of existing loan account? The answer is it will be a separate loan account open for the borrower for extending this facility. Additional credit can be availed either through one lender or various lenders as appearing on 29 Feb. If one lender is granting you all the money up to 20% cap, then there will be a requirement of NOC from other lenders. No collateral is asked for and cannot be asked. And this scheme is to existing borrowers, not for the new borrowers. There would be no guarantee fee or processing fee, and interest rate will be external benchmark lending rate plus 1% subject to 9.25%, and for NBFC it can be maximum 14%. Coming to the debt finance through subordinate debt, how this scheme will operate. The scheme seeks to extend support to the promoter of the operational MSME who is under stress and have become NPA on 30th April 2020. Promoter of MSME will be given credit equal to 15% of their stake. Now, how this stake will be calculated? It will be on equity plus debt, which promoter might have introduced as a quasi equity, or 75 lakhs, whichever is lower. Promoter in turn will infuse this amount in equity in the system, in his business. 90% of this subordinate debt will be guaranteed by the government, and 10% has to be infused by the concerned promoter. This loan will have 7 years moratorium and on principal, but during this period, interest has to be served, and maximum tenure for repayment will be 10 years. Not only the MSME promoters who are under SMA2 or NPA category, but even those MSME whose account have been standard as on 31st March 18 but have become irregular during 18, 19 and 1920 can also avail the benefit of this scheme. Willful defaulters are specifically excluded from this scheme. Here, guarantee fee will be applicable at the rate of 1.5% per annum, but the bigger cost will be the bank interest. Financial institution interest may range between 14 to 18%. For first time, government gave some incentive for the viable MSME or potential MSME for listing. Generally, MSME find it very difficult when it comes to going to the venture capitalist or the listing. So here government has proposed the setting up of the fund with 10,000 crore corpus, which will operate like a mother fund, and out of that daughter funds will be created. This will help building up the MSME, the potential MSME in size as well as capacity, and there will be a complete roadmap towards listing on the stock exchange. Because of this scheme, government helps the MSME to connect with the venture capitalist, and they can take it forward for listing purpose. This is a very, very welcome move for the potential MSME, and that encourage Make in India to large extent. For the global tenders, government has first time introduced the provision in the GFR, that is General Financial Rules, that up to 200 crore government procurement can be done only from MSME and small participants, and this will discourage the foreign participants. This will ensure the confidence in the MSME, and at the same time potential MSME will come out and they will also grow. And at the same time, as I told you earlier, since government has committed to clear the dues of MSME in 45 days, this will help MSME entrepreneurs to generate cash flow easily. The purpose of this equity infusion is to expand the vocal for local, and at the same time make the MSME to grow into the large category. MSME considered to have growth potential and viability will only be eligible for this equity infusion by the mother fund and daughter fund. Government will support the venture capital and private equity funds through this scheme, and MSME can approach the said venture capital and private equity funds for the investment. This will be a transparent process, and government has already, the scheme is already meant to provide the growth stage funding. That means it will have the roadmap of the next milestones and the growth story. As far as the global tenders are concerned, government has already modified GFR 2017. So now in coming days, we may come across the situation where government is inviting tender from the eligible MSE or MSME. Other intervention taken by the MSMEs are towards the e-market linkage, financial technology and settlement of dues. Settlement of dues we already discussed. Coming to the financial technology first, government has enhanced the transaction-based lending and concept of trades have been already evolved last year, for which many beneficiaries have taken the benefit, but still the number of MSMEs are not covered in this. So government want to promote this strongly, and this is beneficial for MSMEs. We will see in coming slide. Trades is a digital platform initiated by RBI to facilitate the MSME by financing their trade receivables. The main objective of trades is to facilitate financing of invoices of MSME drawn on corporate and other buyers, including government department and PSUs, and by way of discounting by financiers. That means there are three players here. Seller has to be MSME supplier. He cannot be non-MSME. That means he should have MSME Udyog Aadhaar number. Buyers have to be corporates, large corporates, government departments, PSUs, and other entities. Currently, only large corporates are prescribed on some of the online portals, but in coming days, government may come up with MSME entities also as a buyer category. Financiers are banks, NBFC, factors, and other financial institutions if they are permitted by RBI. Eligibility criteria norms are given on the website of the RBI. The path is given in this presentation. Here, seller has to be registered and bank has to be validating authority. But the real challenge which is faced in last years out of the experience is that sometimes the buyer may not be agreed to register, and he may not share his data with the seller even if seller wants to register himself. So this creates a difficulty because for this particular trades, both the buyer and seller need to be registered on the portal. So, and second thing, even for buyer to register, there are certain clarity needed for buyer registration, and it requires government attention on immediate basis. How this operates? Electronic bill factoring exchange operates like this. First of all, whenever the invoice is raised, there will be a creation of the factoring unit by MSME seller or buyer. It can be done by any person. If it is done by seller, it is called factor. If it is done by the buyer, it is called reverse factor. Any party who creates, the opposite party has to accept. Once that acceptance happens, then there will be a bidding by the financiers. And best bidding will be selected by the seller or the buyer, and payment will be made to the seller immediately by the buyer at the agreed rate of the financing or discounting. That means seller gets his money, MSME seller gets his money. And payment has to be made by buyer to the financier on the due date as per the terms of that arrangement. This is simple model, plain vanilla model, how it functions. FAQs. What is factoring unit? As we discussed, factoring units is the standard nomenclature used for trades for invoice or bill of exchange. Who can create? Both buyer or seller. Buyer does, then it's reverse factoring. Seller does, then it is factoring. Is FU binding on the parties under Indian Contract Act? The answer is certainly yes, it is binding, and even government departments, PSUs are bound by it. Large corporate gets disciplined approach because even today there are certain regulations prescribed under the Act, even in the ROC, in the MCA Act, but still the large corporates are taking advantage of not discharging the liability in 45 days. With trades, the payment to seller is immediate and buyers have to follow the guidelines of the factoring. So this will create a disciplined culture amongst the corporates. And seller has no recourse. Once he gets his money, he is out of his liabilities. This is win-win situation for all the stakeholders. All the participants will get an automatic, transparent platform, paperless and hassle-free. There is a cost reduction, low administrative cost, faster transaction processing. Buyer will get regulated by the MSME Act provisions. He will also get the competitive price discovery mechanism. Seller will also get the best price for his product. And at the same time, there will be no recourse to the seller. T+1 settlement terms. No follow-up with the buyers is required because he gets his money immediately. So easy cash flow comes to his end. Benefit to financiers. They get priority sector lending benefits by which they can get the lower interest rate benefits and lower cost of new customer acquisition, and they can also do the cross-selling of their products. Another initiative which government took this year, thanks to COVID, is government e-market linkage. In the budget, Finance Act 2020, there were initiatives taken by the government where Ministry of MSME had provided several marketing promotion schemes such as International Cooperation Scheme, Marketing Assistance Scheme, Procurement and Marketing Support Scheme. But these all schemes required a strong implementation, which could not happen because of the COVID scenario. So during COVID pandemic, the MSME started facing the problem of marketing post arrival of pandemic. Thus, as a part of the Atmanirbhar Abhiyan, Bharat Abhiyan, the government announced that GEM will be promoted. What are the benefits of this scheme? It acts as a substitute for the trade fair and exhibition. It provides easy access to remote markets and you can expand your horizon, and will also help to conduct the transactions beyond the boundaries of the states and country, and develop digital infrastructure will help to digitize your payment. This is the way you have to register. Creating NIC registered email ID with the complete identity as per Aadhaar. Now, once the email ID is created, you can create the primary user account on the GEM website from that particular ID. Now, important is here only one user registration happens whose name is appearing on the Aadhaar certificate. So this creates one difficulty in practical sense how to operate by others. And if that person is not available for some reason, then this becomes a very difficult to access the site. So government should work on it, and suggestions can be given by us. Email verification will be done by NIC. They will compare it with the Udyog Aadhaar details, and if it matches, the certificate will be granted and the access will be granted. Email message with the OTP to the applicant, that is the primary applicant, will come for completing the registration, which he does immediately, and then after he can monitor the virtual trade fair, order placed, administration of the GEM, procurement, policies, etc., etc. Here, some important observations are made that when you go on this portal, it becomes slightly difficult for listing your products, and the government should work on the HSN code and industry-wise product registration. This will help lots of beneficiaries to take advantage of this virtual or e-market linkage portal. And more users should be allowed, and government should make B2B and B2C categories so that it becomes easy for the users to use this portal and get maximum out of it. And this can also help to expand the horizon beyond country. So international market can also be tapped. So these are the important suggestions one can make, because this is also evolving and government has taken lots of initiatives in coming days with the suggestions and recommendations from the actual users. INCOP can help you to take it up to the government and make it user friendly and ease of doing business. Thank you for my presentation. Now I again hand over to Jayesh Bhai. Jayesh Bhai, over to you.
So now we will cover COVID reliefs, recovery provisions for MSME. Next, various reliefs have been given under taxation law. So contribution to EPF and has been reduced from 12% to 10% with some conditions. There is a 25% cut in TDS rates for non-salaried payment to resident under Income Tax Act. Salaried employees would be liable to tax deduction as per earlier TDS rate. So for salaried employees, there is no change. For withholding tax also, there is no change. No reduction on TDS, TCS rate in case where there is non-furnishing of PAN, Aadhaar, rate is 20%. So effectively 25% cut is there to contract payments and some other type of payments, professional fees and all that. So relief under taxation laws, FAQs. Now, what are the various reliefs which have been provided? Will the EPF contribution of central public sector units and state public sector units also reduce? Answer is no. Who is eligible for the cuts in TDS, TCS? So the benefit of 7.5%, 25% is available to for payments for contracts, professional fees, interest, rent, dividend, commission, brokerage income will be eligible for reduced rate. So there is some income tax refund also, but the limit is only 5 lakh of rupees. So only any amount above 5 lakh will be normally refunded. Below 5 lakh, it will be refunded automatically. What is the deadline for receiving of Form 16? The deadline for Form 16 has been extended to July 31st. So, and Vivad and Viswas scheme, the time limit has been extended to 31st December. So for any settlement of litigation, the time limit has been extended to 31st December. Next. Under insolvency law, there is a change. Previously, the limit for filing cases was 1 lakh. Now, during the COVID period, if there is any default, the limit has been increased to 1 crore. Whether this limit will continue after the COVID moratorium, that is not known as of now. So, and plus exclusion of COVID related debt from definition of default. So if any default is there only because of COVID, then it will not be treated as default and no case can be initiated. There are various reliefs under Companies Act which have been announced. This is like a prosecution process has been simplified. No prosecution will happen for minor technical and procedural default, shortcomings in CSR reporting, in inadequacy in board report, delay in holding AGM, etc. So these are all reliefs which are technical in nature, which are available under Companies Act, where previously prosecution was happening. So now prosecution will not happen. This reduces a lot of cases in NCLT also. And so the private companies also can lease their non-convertible debentures, but they will not be regarded as a listed entities now onwards. Next. Relief under IBC and Companies Act, some questions are there. Will the minimum threshold limit of IBC applicable only to MSME? No, this is applicable to all, whether it is MSME, large scale or any size of unit. The limit of 1 crore is applicable to all. Is there any outer limit mentioned for such reduction of threshold limit? No, there is no outer time limit mentioned. Is the reduction of the threshold limit retrospective? No, the NCLT has clarified not. So this amendment is not retrospective. So any default before 24th of March 2020, still the cases can be filed for recovery. Is there any relief for companies under CIRP? Yes. So the CIRP gets suspended for a year for new defaults, not for old defaults. COVID-related default, there is a suspension. Will the minimum threshold limit of IBC be applicable only to MSME? It is applicable to all corporate debtors. So, will COVID-19 contribution qualify as CSR expenditure? Yes, it will qualify. Next. I'm moving a little fast because of time shortage. So one of the most important aspect is the recovery process, which has been there is an MSME Samadhan scheme where money or you can collect your debtors or you can recover your debtors through this process. There is an online application which we need to file and for recovery of our debtors, and the checking everything, the process is online. The result is there in 90 days, and there is a council for each industry. Ultimately the application is processed by that council and the result we get within 90 days. So this is one of the most important recovery mechanism for all MSME units. Next. So we have to file the application online, but action has to be taken by the respective council. It's a very easy process, not a difficult one, but this is a platform, online platform, and the council helps us in recovery process. So we need to have Udyog Aadhaar memorandum. So that is required, that is mandatory. Is it mandatory to file delayed payment application online? See, the application can be made online as well as physical. If there is no action on application filed by MSE, then we have to contact the respective council. And that also is the process is online. Is work order compulsory? Yes, work order is compulsory. So in short, if we have proper documentation, proper work orders, proper invoice, proper delivery challans, the recovery will become much easier for MSME units. Next. So as I said earlier, the award by council is to be communicated to interim resolution professional and then to NCLT as per the procedural law. So this is a process whereby if there is an award by the council, then the recovery becomes more easier. The recovery becomes a secured recovery. So suppose suppose your buyer is into NCLT, it is under insolvency, covered under insolvency law. Then if you have applied under MSME Samadhan, the recovery becomes as a secured recovery, which is very beneficial to all MSME units. So one more point I would like to say is foreign buyers also are covered under this. So once a award is given by the council, we on the basis of the award, we can approach the consulate of the foreign buyer of that country. It can be very beneficial to MSME. Next. So now Inder will be presenting on analysis of sectoral relief and reforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayesh bhai. Good evening, everyone. So thank you, Jayesh bhai and Sangvi for the entire background and the introduction. So what we'll do in the next part of the presentation is I'll take you through a few sectors in which relevant reliefs have been provided. The government in the economic relief package announced sector reliefs across, but we have kind of gone down to specific sectors which are more applicable to MSMEs, and I'll take you to some nuances of how these relief packages work and what we should be doing, and some other benefits which are not very commonly known. So the first sector we are covering, and this is a very wide sector, agriculture and allied sector. So by definition, this will not only include agriculture, but anything related to agri infrastructure, cold chain, post harvesting activities, food and beverages, fishing, marine in general. So this is a very wide sector, and therefore a lot of attendees might might be covered in this. So therefore we took this up. So the overall benefit package which the government announced for agriculture and allied sectors is around 1.5 lakh crores, which includes financing facility for agriculture infra projects. So if you are a cold chain operator, if you're into infra creation at farm gate levels, or any of those activities, there's a financing facility which is available up to 1 lakh crore of rupees. Now you may not be directly into this, but a lot of your buyers might be actually running such operations. So the idea is once they get the liquidity, their business increases, and therefore you as MSMEs get impacted. Similarly, there's a formalization of the unorganized micro food enterprises, which has been announced. What this will do is help develop a lot of unorganized players which are into food and beverages, get better branding support, get better marketing support. So there's a formalization of that which has been announced. There's a creation of Animal Husbandry Development Fund, which focuses on dairy processing and value addition. So dairy processing, roughly around 10,000 crores has been announced for this part. So again, if you're into such a sector, you can of course get benefit of these fundings. Infrastructure development scheme for beekeeping and related activities, close to 500 crores has been announced there. Incentives and schemes for development of marines and inland fisheries, close to 20,000 crores overall under various schemes, which includes buying boats for fishing, creating of infrastructure at ports, so on and so forth. There has been an additional provision under the social infra projects through viability gap funding, which is called as VGF. The idea is to boost private sector investment in such projects. Typically, social infra projects would include creation of schools, education institutes, hospitals, waste management projects. All of those are social infra projects. The VGF has been announced where 8,100 crores has been earmarked for such projects. This quantum of VGF was earlier 20%, has now been increased to 30%. Typically, the way of getting these fundings is that you have to your project has to be approved by a state nodal agency, and then the center and the state work together in disbursing the VGF. So once you have a project, then you have to apply for typically a lot of these projects are, some of them are automatically covered, some of them you have to apply for them, and then the state nodal agency will process the file and take it forward. Some other sector reliefs which might be applicable for you, central government agencies. If you're a central government agency contractor, then there's an automatic extension of the contract by 6 months without any costs to the contractor. There's a partial release of bank guarantees by the government to the extent of completion of contracts. Idea of both of these is one, not to have any LDs or not charge you any penalties for delays. So there's a 6-month allowance, and the release of bank guarantees will ensure that you have some additional liquidity in your hands to be able to execute your project. So these are basic rights which if in your contracts, if you're a central government agency contractor, you can approach your buyer or the agency for these benefits. If you're an infra service contractor, if you have a concession agreement under the PPP route with the government agency, with the municipal corporation or whomsoever, there's an automatic extension of the concession period as well. If you're a real estate developer, there's a suo motu extension by the government of completion date by 6 months for all registered projects, expiring on or after 25th of March 2020 without any individual application. There's a further enabling provision to extend the period by another 3 months if needed. If you're in the healthcare space, there's an announcement of increase in public expenditure in health institutions and for primary healthcare. The government is spending more on strengthening the lab network and surveillance, increased impetus on research, and there's a creation of a national digital health blueprint which will help map health database of all citizens across India. So if you are in the healthcare and if you're connected to such a scheme, a lot of business can come to your end. There are some other sectors, again, majority of these will not be directly applicable to MSMEs, but because you could be in the value chain of the entire process, a lot of percolation and a lot of indirect benefit will be passed on to MSMEs in the following sectors. The first one is the government is trying to enhance efficiency in public sector through private participation. There are financial reliefs in the power sector to honor past dues. There's a 90,000 crore relief package for the power sector. The idea is to increase liquidity in the hands of the state distribution companies and state transmission companies. And if you're a supplier, you can see some effect of that liquidity in terms of past dues being cleared, new orders coming into your hands very shortly. There's a Make in India drive, which everyone is aware of, but there's a reform in the defense sector. So if you're providing services in that field, it might be helpful. Private participation, auctions in mines in the coal sector, in-house maintenance, repair and overhaul MRO ecosystem in the aviation sector is being developed. There's a booster dose of private participation in aerospace and atomic energy sector as well. How will the financing be provided to the agriculture infra project? So as I said, 1 lakh crore has been earmarked. The government is in process of setting up a fund for this, and then the fund will be responsible for disbursing these monies. Who is eligible for the financing facility? It's aimed primarily at cooperative societies, farmers, producers, organizations, agri entrepreneurs and startups. But as I said, if you are a supplier to any of these societies, you will get the benefit of it because they will get the money to spend. How will the micro food enterprises be formalized, the MFEs? The government will adopt a cluster-based approach across states, and this is what they have done in the past as well for various products, mangoes, kesar, etc., etc. What are the measures under the PM eVidya program? So this is under the education relief which they have announced. Under the PM eVidya program, the government is set to launch various channels like Swayam Prabha DTH channel, e-content, QR, coded, energized books. So if you are in the education business, you can actually work very closely with the government in providing them such content and such services. Will all agencies provide extension of contracts to the contractors? All central government agencies, so that includes railways, Ministry of Road Transport, Highways, CPWD, all of them have to provide an extension of contract. How will the relief measures benefit the RERA registered projects? As I said, it's being treated as an event of force majeure by default, and therefore the registration of these projects will be extended by 6 months. Let's look at some other benefits to MSMEs which are not very commonly known. Some of them are. So there's a credit link capital subsidies for technology upgradation, a CLCSS scheme, which you can take benefit of under various manufacturing and service sector units. As Jayesh said, there's a legal protection under MSME law for recovery of outstanding dues within 45 days. If you are using OD loans and other loans, there's a 1% interest reduction under the subvention scheme. You should always try to get be a part of the Startup India scheme for innovative companies. There's an income tax benefit for 3 out of 10 years. There's no income tax to be paid. And this is applicable for a 10-year period, which is very long. So if you're a startup, you might have 1-2 years of losses, but you'll be profitable surely, and you don't have to pay income tax for 3 years. Startup listing on BSE is a new initiative which the government is working on very closely. There are concession on electricity bills, the generator subsidy, there's subsidy on patent registration and trademarks, which we'll come to a bit later as well. ISO certification charges reimbursement, MDA scheme for registration for barcoding. So they are all small subsidies available, small benefits available, but cumulatively they can be a large number, especially if you're a small company. There are special incentives for companies manufacturing COVID-19 products like testing kits, sanitizers, etc., etc. Businesses under MSME are given a higher preference for government license and certification. There is a support if you're starting an incubation center, and there are incentives for employment generation and innovative ideas in general. Just look at a few specific reliefs which I have highlighted. So if you are a startup and you want to start a micro enterprise, you can get a first loan under PMEGP, that's the Pradhan Mantri Employment Generation Program, or a Mudra unit. And even if you're an existing PMEGP or a Mudra unit, there's a second loan upgradation which is available. You can, up to a maximum project cost of 1 crore, you can spend on technology upgradation and expansion of the existing units. And there's a subsidy of 15% of project cost which is available, and the banks will provide the balance project cost as a term loan. But this is for an existing PMEGP or a Mudra unit. There's a credit guarantee scheme for micro and small enterprises, which we call as a CGT MSE loan. The credit guarantee for loans is up to 2 crores without collaterals and third-party guarantee. Basically, the government is guaranteeing the loan to the lenders on your behalf. This guarantee coverage ranges anywhere from 85% to 75%. That's the highest cap. It is as low as 50% if you are into retail trade. So if you are a startup and you're wanting to have a small facility as a startup, you can approach the bankers under the scheme and get a loan for up to 2 crore rupees. Procurement and marketing support for international cooperation. So this is where the government is wanting MSMEs to promote their products not only in India but internationally, for which they are giving marketing support for participation in domestic trade fairs and exhibitions. There's a budgetary support of up to 1.5 lakh rupees for participating. They also provide marketing support for participating in international fairs through reimbursement of your costs. So there are schemes from the Export Promotion Council. You can be registered under them, and they'll fund your entire exhibition costs. There's a ZED certification scheme where the government wants you to improve the quality of your products in terms of being zero defect. So they'll provide you technology support to promote adaptability of quality tools, systems. Financial assistance will be provided to MSMEs in obtaining such ZED certification. If you're an organization who wants to get into lean manufacturing competitiveness, then there's not only technical assistance but also financial assistance which is provided for implementation of such techniques. 80% of, again, all of this is funded 80% by the government, 20% by the beneficiaries. So there are subsidies available, there's debt which is available as well. There's a design clinic for design expertise. So in order to promote innovation, if MSMEs want to develop new design strategies or design related products, then there's consultancy and financial assistance which is available for engagement of such design consultants. As I said, up to 1.5 lakh of rupees, 75% of these expenses can be reimbursed from the government. The next step for promoting innovation is actually creating awareness of IPRs and having our own patents. So the government has a scheme where they will reimburse all patent trademark related costs to enhance the increase of IPR filings. This reimbursement amount can vary anywhere from 10,000 rupees to 5 lakh of rupees depending on the IPR. So there are many such schemes which are available, and there is a process to apply for all of these schemes, and there are lots of government agencies with which you have to coordinate. So I haven't listed down the entire process, but obviously if there are specific questions and assistance which you need, you can reach out to us and we can guide you on how this is to be done. So that kind of brings an end to our presentation. Yash, I'll hand it over to you for any questions which the audience may have.
Thank you, Inder. My first question is to Mr. Samir Sanghvi. The question is, if a concern is both into manufacturing, instrument servicing, trading, how would the classification be? Since trading and wholesalers are excluded from the criteria of calculation of turnover. So what would the entity be
Right.
classified as?
So, yeah, so if your manufacturing part is more than the servicing part, then you should register yourself as a manufacturer. And if vice versa, then you should register as a service organization. And when we are talking about the turnover, government has not prescribed any exclusion on the trading turnover. So trading turnover will be also part of the limits of threshold limits. So I think the questions are two and the answers will be different in that sense, because if you are a manufacturing unit and doing some installation services, then you should fall under manufacturing, you should register. And if you are a servicing company where you are doing some sort of the material procurement and processing, like a job workers and the API divisions, then in that case you should fall under the service industry. And benefit of the extension of these limits and making it at par for manufacturing and service industry now makes it easy as well as viable for all the service organization where there is a heavy capital investment which they were deprived earlier of the benefit. Now they can avail this benefit.
Thank you. The next question is to Mr. Jayesh. If an entity gets covered as a micro enterprise by fulfilling the eligibility criteria, and subsequently their investment in plant and machinery or their turnover increases, so the status will not automatically change to small or medium. So how can government ensure that the entity applies for the revised status?
So when we go for benefits, we can give a CA certificate and a latest balance sheet based on which a decision can be taken.
Correct. So basically, the authorities will not support you for it just because you have a MSME status. They will always ask for some supporting proof.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Samir, another question for you. Someone has asked you to elaborate on the IT tax holiday.
Yeah, IT tax holidays, I referred in context of the startup where 3 years tax holiday is given out of 10 years, and there will be a deferral of the perquisite tax on the issue of ESOPs, as well as no angel tax for the investment coming in the period when your turnover is below 100 crore and you are continuing to enjoying the startup status under the Income Tax Act. But for the general MSME who are not falling under startup, there are two important provisions one should keep in mind, especially the manufacturing and the service industry, as I said about the auto components and job processing house who have the huge investment of capital nature. They can take advantage of the depreciation. At the same time, sometimes the capital expenditure are also deductible under some sections of section 35, 35A, where your activity must be falling. It is sector specific, industry specific. And the most important is manufacturing company gets new manufacturing company, if they are forming now, they get 15% concessional tax, which was not there earlier. And even for the old company, the rate is reduced from 30% to 22% now. So if the companies are the medium enterprise, they can also avail the benefit of 22% tax regime with some conditions. And for employment generation, the new entity or the new business division gets a incentivizing provision for under section 80JJAA for 3 years, where every employment which they create beyond certain threshold, the additional deduction is given by the government. to encourage the employment and to generate more and more cash flow in the hands of the entrepreneurs. These are the benefits which are given for the MSME in particular.
Thank you. My next question is, Mr. Inderpreet, for you. If a private limited company does not have any outstanding loans and it has just been registered as an MSME in May 2020, then what are the benefits and how can they be availed? So what are the benefits, I believe, was adequately covered by the presentation. Can you guide us through how to avail these benefits?
So if you are a newly registered MSME during the COVID times, unfortunately, the benefit which has been announced has been a 20% top up on your existing lines. So that is in a way forcing banks to actually disburse when they, even if the account is a bit stressed, they may not want to they may not want to disburse, but they'll be forced to disburse because of an RBI guideline. So if you are a newly registered MSME, and if your project has to be bankable in the first place. So if it's a bankable company and the business operations are viable, you can always apply to a bank. And since you're an MSME, you are covered under priority sector lending. So you will have a preference in terms of both processing as well as better interest rate under MSME. So if you don't have a additional benefit because you have no outstandings, but under MSME, because you are under priority sector, you will get a new sanction of loan.
Thank you. Next question to you, Mr. Jayesh. Regarding MSME payments, if a private limited company has not been paying up for the last 16 months and the due is less than 1 lakh, then what are the options available to them?
The best option is go to MSME Samadhan. There is no limit of 1 lakh for MSME Samadhan, according to me. Or if you are having a post-dated check, or if you don't have, send a legal notice, and I think that should be sufficient to collect the money.
Correct. So the MSME Samadhan does not take into consideration the due amount like IBC does.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next question for you, Mr. Inderpreet. It is more of a general question, that all the initiatives being taken by the government are being applauded. So what do you predict the future of the markets to be like? Do you see any investment in setup of new industries in the near future?
Yes, I don't see a reason why there should be no new investment. The government is doing as much as they can in terms of encouraging investment. With lockdown slowly opening up, I think the next 3 to 4 months we should see consumer demand picking up. Our understanding is that Q3 and Q4 this year will be very good quarters, because there will be a lot of pent up demand. A lot of delays in execution have taken place, which will start happening again in Q3 and Q4. So there will be an increase in business activities in Q3 and Q4, and with the kind of support the government is giving, it's a matter of time. There are some teething issues which the government faces, but I think they should all get solved in the next 1.5 months. With all of that, surely there should be new investments in setting up, with border disputes, companies wanting to enter India as a substitute for China. Even those political scenarios are going to make a reasonable play, and therefore that investment should come back.
Thank you for sharing your insights, Mr. Inderpreet. I'm afraid that's all the time that we have. There are a few questions which are still being raised. We will be happy to address them via mail after the end of the webinar. I would like to conclude by thanking the panelists for sharing their insights with all of us. And thank you to the audience for registering and attending this event. We hope this was useful. We hope at INCOR, we will always be available to help you on any of those aforementioned benefits that we covered. And we will also be able to guide you to the step-by-step process you can undertake in order to capitalize on all of them. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.